Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. Finally, senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. And remember, no matter who you are valid. Thumbs up for that. And of course, if you are a bigot, that is a terrible, terrible character flaw. I mean, there are worse. Don't get me wrong, there are worse character flaws. Point being, though, it is a character flaw. Anyway, though, I have been outside. It is gray and overcast. Not altogether warm, but not chilly either. I'm comfortable in this get-up, and so that's a good thing. And I'm going to be going for walkies later, of course. But I went in, talked to my case manager. As I tell them, one of the reasons I go in to say good morning is to show them that I'm not lying, on my floor in my apartment, suffering and needing help, but also just to say hi. As well, I did yesterday lend my case manager, because they get federal funding, a very small amount that's mostly other charities, but because they do things this way and that way, we have case managers because it's homeless vets trying to use it as a step up and out, or just someone like me who got economically priced out of housing and I had nowhere else to live. So because of that, we need case managers to make sure we're following up on stuff. I'm here just because I have no other place to live. I don't really have a step-up plan. So, yeah. But I lent him my physical copy of Cur Nathalis to check out because he's become an avid and interested person, avid reader of and interested person in, there we go, I can speak English, solo RPG stuff. And when I gave him a quick Cliff's Notes version of Cur Nathalis, he was like, yeah, can I borrow that? So, thumbs up. Very, very good. Just thought I'd mention that. Now, let's see. I'm going to be copying, not pasting, but erasing things that I've talked about just so that I know I talked about them and what I have left. I'm going to mention this only because, number one, I like the person and the channel, and I'm disturbed by what's happening. And number two, I was amazed that even I could pick up on something. If you like animation, you've probably heard of the channel Saberspark, where there's this guy, Steven, some bloody thing or another. He's largely a PNG tuber, and he has editors and a team. It's a PNG tuber. He's got a little cartoon that just, it's flat images with no animation, but based on how things are being said, there's a whole lot of different flat images that they'll go between. And so it's pretty cool. And I know I went and explained PNG Tuber to people who all know what PNG Tubers are and don't need some boomer explaining it to them. My sincere apologies. Anyway, the thing with Saberspark is there have been a huge amount of allegations and a fight going on between people that have accused mostly other people surrounding him of things, and thus him defending those people is a bad thing, which it is not good if it's true, and partly one of the people that's involved in it is having bad allegations that weren't just allegations. Apparently there were real things, so it's kind of a mess. But I stopped watching when there's a drama channel where they just largely go through, from what I can see, and do readings of like emails or tweets and such. And this was long video of him just reading these emails going on between the accuser and Saberspark. And I have trouble understanding people. On a textbook level, I understand people and how they work. In real life, life is messy. It's not textbook. And I don't understand real life stuff. It's very difficult. I understand people largely, but just also I don't. So, picking up on emotions and reacting appropriately can be difficult for me. But even though this fellow was reading things in a largely disproportionate, a largely dispassionate fashion, he wasn't playing a character and saying what they were saying out of, oh, no, he was just reading the texts. But even I could hear the blistering fury being used in the careful choices of words, not being used, but being exposed in the careful choices of the words and the actual phrasing. But it was just, oh, you could feel the anger, just like a heat, even though the fellow was, again, being largely dispassionate in his readings. So I just thought I wanted to talk about that. Very, very good phrasing. I just wanted to talk about that because it's so rare that I can actually understand a feeling so strongly. Not that I understood it and was in her shoes, but understood it in that I could feel the anger. Thumbs up. Which to be honest, I do not know how to feel about this. I have watched his channel and I have liked his person, and defending somebody who's either being accused of some stuff with receipts or is shown to have done something isn't a good look. That's not a nice thing. But people aren't black and white. This is how things are. We're all messy. So I don't know how to feel. From everything I've seen and heard so far from videos, it's like a house of cards for clout. Except just enough little tiny pieces here and there that I don't know. And then this was something I wanted to talk about as well. I have been feeling sudden bursts of panic, mortal terror, because some of the things I liked when I was younger, when you can suddenly realize, oh, that was 50 years ago. Well, thanks, mortality, for rubbing it in my face. 50 years ago, oh my God, burst of sheer terror, because, hey, here's a reminder that on a relative scale, you're gonna die soon. And by soon, it's at 62, people start dropping pretty regularly. So, I don't like reminders of my mortality that way. Still though, you need to examine your feelings and find out where things are coming from if you can. So, thumbs up on that. Which ties into, I was watching at least the beginning of, I don't know how far I'm going to go, Jacksepticeye playing Soma. I just forgot what I was going to say on that, so I have to unread. I went and erased stuff, and I had to unerase it. He was starting to talk about, before going into things, about how much he liked science fiction, and he mentioned he was reading had read 2001 Space Odyssey, and then the sequel, 2010. And then he mentioned another book, Childhood's End, that he read of his. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because the author, Arthur C. Clarke, was like of my parents' generation, or even my grandparents' generation. But he wrote science fiction like all the way up, and non-science fiction as well, all the way up to his death. And he lived a pretty long time. But it was nice to see somebody relatively young rediscovering actual masters at their craft. In fact, I remember this because it meant so much to me. I read as a child when my grandparents were alive, and my grandparents died when I was young, the book Tales from the White Hart, a collection of short stories about eccentric people who gathered in a bar called the White Hart and had extravagant adventures, and then told about them at the bar. And so there was that collection of the Tales from the White Hart. And I remember reading that as a child, and it made such an impression on me that I remember that like 50 some odd years later. Which had been feeling anxiety about a different book, Pseudo People, which I'd read at the same time because I could not remember the name of the book. Which after like 50 years, well, still, this was like 7 years ago when it would have, but I'm okay with that sort of thing now. But back then, it was very anxiety causing, which again, that would have been 40-year-old memory. Why would I be expected to remember that? But then just through time, I remembered it was Pseudo People and checked if Pseudo People was a book. And yeah, it was a collection of stories about androids and such in a book called Pseudo People. And so, yeah. Yay. Now let's see what else I had up here that it was a part of that. Oh, that's all. Except for with him playing Soma. Now, I have watched playthroughs of the game Soma before. And it is incredibly sad and horrifying all at the same time. Some of the aspects are not. I mean, they are on an existential level. But if spoilers ahead, if you don't know about the game Soma, it's a game about identity. That's the whole theme, and they rub it in your face. But it is, I was going to give a quick run through. Your character has their brain scanned, and then suddenly in the middle of the scan, they wake up in this not just wake up, just everything goes black, and when the helmet comes off, they're in a science fiction place, and you're trying to figure out what happened. But the actual thing of the game, spoilers now, is your brain was copied, but then you died. But then the people that copied your brain had a copy of it. And as this technology was perfected, especially toward the end of this thing, your scan was found, and you got your brain scan downloaded into an organic computer robot thing, and you wake up as you. And you can't see that you are an organic, a thing that's, humanoid in shape. You see a human body. And here's the really sad part, when you come across these, which actually I cried on another one again, even though I've seen so many, these robots all believe that they're fully alive, human. In fact, when your character is watching one of these robot things, because they're all messed up, one of them is just saying, of course I'm human. Take a look at me. And it's a robot. In very bad shape. But says, yeah, of course I'm human. Look, I'm waving my arm. These are all kind of foreshadowing and hints. Remember up there. Well, it was sad because of your character having to shut off some of these people. The one that really got to me again, and he didn't cry or tear up, but one of them, you have to repower up part of the station that you woke up in. Now, he does not know if there's a way to do this without doing what he seemingly has to do, but this robot's hooked into the power supply. But you need that power supply. And so you have to unplug them. But this person just asks you why. I was okay. I was happy. And then boom. Now the question of, are you the main character, even though you're this sort of thing that your consciousness has been downloaded into, which you discover, so it's not a surprise forever. It's like, are you the main actual character that organically died a very, very long time ago? Or are you just a copy, a thing? My particular view is you are you. It doesn't matter how many copies they make of you. That individual you that you are at that point, that where the, sticking to is going, oh, this is the main character. Yes. Continuity of consciousness. And you have that. You can think back to and remember everything that happened before. And you are currently experiencing the present as you move into the future. You are you. It doesn't matter what your body is. So yeah, on that level, if we had the science to be able to do it, death of the organic body is sad, but continuity of consciousness is what matters. Now, that also delves existentially onto whole sorts of spiritual matters, because it delves into people's ideas of, is there a soul? Because if there is, would a copy have one? I'm not going to go there because everybody has their own spiritual ideas. I have my own spiritual ideas and beliefs. I don't want to say, this is right, this is wrong. I don't want to try and impose anything I feel on you. So, I stay away from that, and I talk about only the physical and such like that. Because this is stuff that I can talk about with moderate authority. Whereas spiritual beliefs are spiritual beliefs. So, this is a thing that kind of freaked me out yesterday, though. Remember, if you watched yesterday's vlog, I talked about in my solo RPG setting how there are no Caucasians in the world. The one continent where human beings speciated from the common ancestor of everyone on this world, the Duelan, the Goya, they came up on a continent that was hotter. Everybody there, because of the extra sunlight and such, has darker skin. There are no Caucasians. And suddenly I realized I have my two characters. There's Connor, a young Goya, a guy, and there's Denthal. I stumbled over the name. How nice at that point. Young Denthal, a Habani character from Karthkok. And suddenly I realized, hey, that means Connor isn't Caucasian. And I realized at that point I had been imagining Connor as a white guy. And I've known in my head that there have been no Caucasians in this world pretty much since I started dealing with the whole solo RPG setting way back when. So why that was a surprise is why I find that reaction interesting. Because I don't generally play white guys, or guys at all, but still white people in video games. I don't see my character as a white guy. In fact, if I have my character look at their body and the skin is white, that is weird. And it feels wrong. Which, to make it fully odd, in ways, because I'm not an egg. I don't have a shell to crack. If it's a guy, that feels weird and wrong. When I'm playing video games, I am generally like a Latina or a young black gal. Something like that. Why? I don't know. Because in real life, I feel like a guy. And while my skin color isn't important to me, I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is what it is. So, feeling more natural, as a young Eastern Asian woman is odd for me. Assuming they're Eastern Asian, which is not the words I meant to say, but I went and used it. Assuming now. Ugh. But still. It's my reaction to finding out, which wasn't dismay. It was like, oh. At which point my reaction to my reaction was, oh. So, just thought I'd talk about weirdness in my head in my vlog. Thumbs up. And then, is there anything else on this list that I have? Hey, call to action time. If you could like, comment, share, subscribe, that'd be very cool. Definitely a thumbs up. If you're a Patreon patron, oh my gosh, you are beautiful and awesome in every way. 4 of the ways I could mention are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you've left me a comment, you too are beautiful and awesome in your own way. I read every comment that YouTube shows me. I thumbs up and heart every comment that YouTube allows, and I answer as many as my nerve compression will let me, which isn't as many as I would like, and in fact, I'm behind, so my sincere apologies. I've got to like and comment on comments that I haven't been able to get to yet. My sincere apologies. But as well, I do play an internet game of Marco Polo where I call out a secret word, hopefully. Hopefully a secret word. Hopefully I call out a secret word. God's above. And then I ask you to type it into the comments if you should feel so. When I call out Polo, I'm wondering how many... I cannot speak. When I call out Marco, I'm curious how many are going to call back Polo by typing that word into the comments. I could edit those out, but part of my vlogging is also just what happens in life. And what happens in my life is some of the ways that I talk and mistalk while I'm talking about what's happening in my life. So I leave that in because it's something that's occurring and happening to me. So thumbs up on that. Anyway, I can't remember what I was talking about now because of ADHD brain. Wait a minute, it was talking about you people out there. Now, where I was in my little spiel, I can't remember, but there we go. I think I was saying, oh my God! I can English. That was awful. Whew! I'm going to go on from there because hokey smokes. I'm going to edit, render, upload. I'm going to take care of myself the rest of the day. And as is typical, when I talk a lot, even when I've been taking the omeprazole daily, I get GERD. I love that. Still, though, I am going to take care of myself, and I'm going to play video games, and I'm going to have my nose get all plugged up. So suddenly I'm going to be incredibly nasal. Yay on that. Hopefully you can get done the things that you would like to get done. That'd be very good. And if not, please do not beat yourself up. You deserve better. So, until we meet again. And it's also probably my voice change because splash of acids coming up my throat and changing the way my throat is reacting because right now, ow, ow, ow. Of course, I did have a breakfast of medium heat chili beans. Or they're pinto beans with a medium heat chili sauce. I can English. The words were there, just in the wrong order. So I can partly understand why it happened. Anyway, though, before this gets worse, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is indeed a very good thing. Thank you so much for watching me as I traverse through life, getting older, and stumbling over my words in a frustrating fashion. It is appreciated. I know I didn't put down a word. I was going to. If you typed rogue into the comments, just for blatant engagement farming and to show that, calling back POLO to my Marco. If you could, that'd be cool. If not, don't worry about it. You take care, and I will talk to you later.